Folks, it's none of your business. I'll explain what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for York Region for week ending September 24th, 2025. If you want to speak directly with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. You know, we work with buyers and sellers. When I'm working on the buyer side, there's a unique set of strategies that come with that. One of the situations that comes up when I'm working with buyers is trying to find out, why is the seller selling? Now, keep in mind, I'm representing the buyer. I have certain goals to help the buyer achieve their goals. And knowing why the seller is selling many times is a big part of helping my buyer client achieve their goal. If I know the seller, for example, has purchased and closing's coming up and they need this sale in order to close, that gives me a lot of strategic advantage to negotiating an offer more in favor of my client who's the buyer. If I know the seller is, for example, in a divorce situation, that helps me, again, to strategically maneuver in a situation where I'm representing the buyer, and perhaps we could take some advantage of that. When we're walking through a home with a buyer, we're looking for clues. We're looking to see, what's going on here. Is the home vacant? Is it not? Do they look like they can afford to upkeep this property? There's all sorts of things happening. This gives me a unique advantage of when I'm working with sellers. And I'll often tell sellers, especially during the listing presentation or early on as we're getting the home ready to go onto the market, I will speak to the sellers about how we want to present the home. If it's a divorce situation, which I've come across several times and helping those sellers sell, say, listen, I understand. And they may tell me, Santo, we want to be sold quickly, we want to move on. Tell them, look, I'll understand that. But we need to kind of show the home in such a way where there's no clues given out. The buyer side will never know from me that you're getting a divorce. But I don't want them to deduce that from walking through your house. For example, if the closet only has women's clothes, there's no men's clothes because the husband has moved out, we don't want to show that. It will be used against us in negotiation. I know this because I work with both sides, with buyers and sellers. If my clients have purchased, there's no way I would want the buyer side to know that my clients have purchased and they need this sale in order to close. I can't let that information out, and I don't want the sellers to behave or show or do anything that gives those kinds of clues to the buyer side. I'm saying this because I can't tell you how many times I've worked on the buyer side, and just in a few quick, short conversations with the seller side, with the listing agents early on, I'm actually told some of this information, or I can deduce some of this information from how the home shows or through my conversations with the listing agent, and it shouldn't be. Your attitude, if you're selling, if you're a listing agent or you're the seller, really should be, it's none of the buyer's business why you are selling. I promise the only reason a buyer is asking that question is to figure out, is there an angle here? Is there something I could take advantage of? So in your head, listing agent or seller, it really should be, it's none of your business. You can't say that directly to the other side because you come across the wrong way. But that should really be the thought process there, that nobody should find out the real reason you're trying to sell, because it may and can and most likely will be used against you in negotiation. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. And if you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. York region, we are focused on the detached market only for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. These are average sold prices for the last 3 months. And if we just look at the last couple of weeks, average price jumped up for each of these areas for Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. We're going to start off with Vaughan. For week ending September 24th, sales way up over the last couple of weeks. 32 detached properties were sold across Vaughan. It was a big week for Vaughan and detached sales. Now, 32 is not a record. I've got a whole year on the board here. There's many weeks here where we're seeing 32, 33. This year, there's 34, 36, 36. But 32 definitely is on the high side of what we normally see, because there's most of the weeks into the 20s somewhere, not into the 30s. So 32, like I said, busy week for sales across Vaughan for detached properties. What's also a big difference is the amount of these detached properties selling at $2 million or more. There were 7. 7 is a big week. We're often seeing 3, 4, and 5. So 7, big week when it comes to properties selling at $2 million or more. So sales overall increased. And because of this 7 selling at $2 million or more, average sold price, it helped to push the average sold price way up, currently sitting at $1,747,000. Now, I'm throwing all this out there because, look, in the perfect world, when you look at average sold prices, we're kind of looking at, like, if the same type of homes each week are being purchased, and we monitor what's happening with the purchase price, the sold price, well, then we could see our sales, our average price is trending down, our average price is trending up, but it's not a perfect system. And the mixture of homes many times is out there. And that's why I'm pointing out, yes, average sold price jumped up, but 7 of those sold at $2 million or more, which props up the average sold price. When we look at 1747 versus last year, well, it's 3% higher. You figured it'd be a lot higher than that, but it's only 3% higher than the same week a year ago. The median price of $1,608,000 is 2% higher. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. Just a different way of looking at the numbers now. And both average price and median price, if we go back to, say, mid-July, all the way to the first week or so of September, was trending down. But the last couple of weeks, I think we're going to see, because of these higher average sold prices, we're going to see slightly a different trend there. But overall, prices have been trending down for detached properties in Vaughan. 32 were sold. 8 of those, so a quarter, 25%, sold at list price or more. Listings, if we kind of go back to the summer, listings were trending down towards the end of August. Then we hit September and listings shot way up, but now listings are starting to come down. Active listings, look, they're climbing, but not by much. We're currently sitting at 644 active detached properties available for sale across Vaughan. Months of inventory sitting at 4.6 months of inventory, pretty much a balanced market. But that jump in sales has really helped to bring months of inventory down, because before that we've been sitting in kind of the bottom end of what we'd say is a buyer's market. So balanced market, buyer's market, is really what you're going to experience across Vaughan for detached properties. Here's Richmond Hill. Sales been pretty steady the last few weeks. 22, 21, and then this week 22. Same thing goes with the amount of property selling at $2 million or more. If I go back 3 weeks, we went from 7 to 8. Now we're at 6 for this week, selling at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,870,000. 1,870 is 6% higher than the same week a year ago. The median price of 1,839 is also 6% higher. 22 were sold. 5 of those, so 23%, sold at list price or more. Listings jumped up into September, but now maybe coming down. Active listings over the previous few weeks, a little higher, not by much. And months of inventory, 6.1. We were at 5.9, then 6.2, then 6.1, bottom end of a buyer's market. And here's Markham. For week ending September 24th, 26 detached properties sold. 5 of those sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is $1,661,000. Now, that's shot way up from where we've been before. We were in the kind of 1.3, 1.4, 1.480. Prices seem to be trending down when it came to Markham. This 1 week kind of thrown things off. So really curious to see, how do we level off over the next few weeks? Which way are prices really going? It's hard to tell because of this 1 week right now. But compared to last year, 1,661 is 1% lower. The median price of 1,551 is 8% lower. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, does show prices are trending down, but I know this 1 week it's going to make that curve. So we need to see kind of a few weeks to figure out which way we're going there. 26 were sold, 7 of those, so 27% sold at list price or more. Listings, fewer listings. Active listings, pretty much the same. We went from 507, 509, 510, so they're not really moving. Months of inventory in a balanced market state of 4.5 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. 4.6 for Vaughan. Same week a year ago was 5 months of inventory. Richmond Hill 6.1, last year was 7.4. Markham 4.5, last year was 3.8. York Region condos 5.2, we're now at 5.2 now. Last year was 5.5. So I don't see a real big difference in months of inventory this year versus the same week a year ago. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.